What's going on, readers and shakers? Welcome to another edition of Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Miss Rhonda M Lawson, owner of Meet the World Image Solutions. And tonight, we are celebrating the Army's birthday. We even brought my own special U.S. Army mug that I bought while I was stationed in, well, I was actually stationed in Korea, but I was on TDY to Japan, temporary duty to Japan, and I bought this really cool U.S. Army mug, so I figured I would bring my mug today and celebrate. So I'm very happy because we have two authors with us who have both served in the military. Right now we're going to talk to Mr. Terry Nelson, one of the authors with the New Orleans Literary Takeover that we will be starting on June 29th. And his book is called Writing the Vision. And so why don't you first of all, tell us a little bit about the book.
Writing the Vision is a book that I wrote to try and encourage others to get more into the Word of God. And I use stories and inspirational messages, quotes and poems and different things like that to bring out something good, a good read for individuals who really don't know God or people who don't read the Bible. And that was my inspiration when I wrote Writing the Vision.
Okay, now it's interesting. What did you do? You said you wanted to bring more people to God.
Yes.
But many people who may not go to church may not want to read a Christian book, so to speak. So how did you write this in a way that would actually attract people to read it? Because I know that you inspired a lot of people with this book.
I sure have. Well, what I did is, I'll tell you how Writing the Vision actually got started. It got started because I was, I'm a janitor in a warehouse, and I was going online. I was trying to encourage guys at work. I was going online. I was trying to encourage guys at work with some of the things that I was writing, and I actually never thought about writing a book until somebody told me, "Hey, Mr. T," one of the guys at work, "Hey, Mr. T, man, there's some pretty good material, man. You ought to write a book," So, and that's kind of how it got started. I was writing inspirational messages and quotes and poems and stuff like that, and just sharing it with some of the younger guys at work, and not thinking that they would really like it because, me being my own worst critic, I didn't know if it was good or not until somebody told me that it was pretty good.
Okay. So how did you pick the material that you were going to put in it?
Oh wow. That was something, how that happened. Like I said, I was writing these inspirational little messages, along with, using scripture along with the messages. And I had written, before the guy even told me anything about I should write a book, I had written maybe 100 different pieces. And I happened to be sitting at home one day, and I was sitting at the computer getting ready to write something, and a thought arose in my head, and that thought was, wonder if I could write a story. And as soon as I finished saying that, I wrote a story, and it's the first story in the book, and it's called The Storyteller.
Okay.
And people are loving it, and I've actually continued to write since the book was published. But how the publishing part came about, after this guy told me that I should write a book, it just kept egging at me, and I really didn't know how to get started, and I really didn't. I kind of let it, go for a minute, and I happened to be online, and I see this thing pop up on the screen, get your book published, Christian Publishing. So I filled out the form online, not thinking much of it, and got a call a couple of days later, and the guy on the phone, I can't remember his name now, he said that asked me, what is it I wanted to do? I said, man, I'm going to tell you like this. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I just need you to kind of guide me. in what I'm doing. And I'm gonna go back a little bit. When I finally decided to go ahead and write the book, I'm thinking, I said, I don't know how many pages. I don't know how to put together a manuscript. I don't know how many pages it would take for me to have a decent sized book. I don't know if I had enough material. And by that time, I had maybe 30, 40 different stories I had written, along with the 100 and something messages. So then I went ahead and I said, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take a message, a story, a message, a story, and just
so
combine
you
it.
went back and forth with it.
Right, and just combine it all and come up with a book. I think when I finished the manuscript, I think I had like 80-something pages, and I still didn't know what size book would come out of 80-something page manuscript until I sent it in to the publisher and they sent stuff back.
They were able to help you.
Yes.
So you actually went over the first hurdle. I mean, as an author myself, I get people who all the time say, I was thinking about writing a book, but I don't know where to get started. Or I kind of have a book in me, but I don't have time to write.
Right.
They all have these excuses about why they can't get started. And you went ahead and just kind of jumped over those excuses and went ahead and started writing. You may not have known where to start,
Right.
or exactly what you wanted to do, but you knew you had that message. So you went ahead and you jumped out with that message, which is a great thing.
Right.
So did you have a fear, like, okay, who's going to read this?
I sure did. Wow, you're asking the right questions. Like you say, how I went ahead and jumped out. I didn't do it immediately, but the first thing I did was, like you say, that fear factor. The first thing I did when the guy first told me that, the first thing popped in my mind was that, write a book. Man, can't nobody just sit down and just write a book just like that. It's not that simple, And we know, with God, anything is possible.
Amen.
And like I say, so I wasn't encouraging myself to write it, but I believe that God was kept pushing at me to go ahead and do it. So he kept sitting these things in front of me, and I had to make a decision, And
you did it.
Right.
Okay. And then, and that's the good thing. When you know you have a calling, go ahead and go with what you have. Because just like when God told Noah to build the ark, or when the great temple was commissioned, so to speak, nobody had the materials, so to speak.
Right.
Nobody knew where they were going to get started, but God provided.
Right.
So all you have to do is just write. Your steps are going to be ordered.
That's right.
Okay, and that's awesome.
Yeah, because I didn't even know I could write. I really didn't, I mean, the only writing I ever really did was maybe when I was young and running the streets and, acting foolish, and I might have wrote a poem to a girl or something like that, but as far as a book, I never thought about it.
And that's one of the things that I actually put on the Facebook page today. And if you're watching, listening, then you can feel free to answer it if you're on my Facebook page, and we'll be putting it on the Horizons Meet the World Image Solutions page pretty soon. But the question I posted was, if you didn't read as a child, what inspired you to begin reading as an adult? Because you see, I wear my T-shirts all the time, trying to inspire people to read. And our young people just don't want to read as much anymore.
That's right.
And sometimes it's hard to get them to read a book when they're not in school. So I asked this question: if you didn't read as a child, what made you want to start reading as an adult? And so feel free to answer that question, and we'll discuss it throughout the show. But I'm going to turn that question right over to you, Terry.
What made me start reading as an adult? I guess when I go back to when I was in school, I didn't like to read then. I didn't even like school. That's why I wanted to hurry up and graduate. But as an adult, I know guys that been to college. I never went to college or anything, but I know guys that went to college, and once people graduate and they get their career going and things like that, the reading pretty much stops. Whether you're doctors, lawyers, or whatever. Most people I know really don't read a lot, and And I say for our people, it's kind of a shame. And let me answer the question. As for me, what got me back to reading was actually the Bible was a book that I used to read as an adult. And I was probably somewhere around 30 years old when I actually started, because I started going to church. So as a result, I started reading the Bible,
Yes.
And after a while, when, the storms of life come at you, and
Come on now.
and the next thing you know, boom, what you wasn't doing before, you stop doing it again. Like I wasn't reading before. So once I start reading, God, put it in my spirit to read his word.
Yes.
And the storms of life hit you. And then you say, Lord, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't have time for this. And you go your own way. And for 10 years, I walked away from the church. I said once before, when the storms of life hit you, the first person that you give a certificate of divorce to is God. I say, Lord, I can't do it no more. You look at life and things don't seem to be going right, and you just think he's not there. But he is, and he really cares. So for 10 years, I moved from New Orleans. I went to Kansas. For 10 years, I didn't read a thing. I did not go to church. I just went back out into the world and started doing my own thing. And I stopped reading. And the funny thing about me is that I owned maybe 7 or 8 different Bibles that I owned, and they picked up a lot of dust, but I knew if somebody had touched one, but still I wouldn't read it, but I didn't want nobody else touching my stuff either. And so after, like I said, I was gone for 10 years, and my wife and I, we decided, and we wasn't even married at the time, we decided to move back to New Orleans, which she's not from New Orleans. She doesn't even have family here, so I don't know why she wanted to move to New Orleans.
Hey, welcome to New Orleans, Mrs. Nelson.
Yes, I never planned on coming back. But, I can't stop God from moving,
There you go.
We came back and we started going to church. And after a while, we decided to go ahead and get married and be right, because it just doesn't feel right to go to church Sunday after Sunday and you're not married to the person that you're with, So we end up joining church, we end up getting married, and even at that time, writing the vision was nowhere in the scene, at least not in my mind. And so after going to church, I all I can say is that this is how God brought this up out of me, by me, obeying his laws and, doing his will.
Okay.
I just started writing. And you see a lot of things going on in the world, and you see all the criminal activity, and you see how families not getting along and how families are treating each other. And, and you want to say something about it, but you don't want to anger anybody, but you can still write it. Hey, look, check this out.
Right.
And that's kind of how that got started.
Well, what do you think? Because there are a lot of people who may write books and they may come across as preachy or as if I'm on the pedestal doing everything right, and I'm going to tell everybody else what they're doing wrong. So how did you walk that fine line without maybe sounding preachy, but still being able to inspire some people? Because I was at your book launch, and there were people there who said that they weren't worried about reading. They just liked what you had to say, or they were inspired by you, so they read the book and they actually were able to get something out of it, and they didn't put it down. So how did you walk that fine line without being preachy, but still being able to motivate people?
The best answer I can give for that is to say that it wasn't me, that it was God himself that inspired me to write. And I guess I could say my style of writing is, I grew up in the Ninth Ward.
Yes.
And I saw a lot of things, and I went through a lot. I've done
Lower
a lot of
9,
things.
and we do mind dying, just to let you know,
That's
okay?
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. I love living.
Yes.
And I love writing.
All right.
But what was I saying? I was
You said you grew up in the Ninth Ward.
right. I grew up in the Ninth Ward. So a lot of those things inspire me, and I tell people that the stories that I write are fictional stories, but there's truth in it, and that's what people find. People find truth in the book, and the way I started, I would send somebody, on the cell. I would write a story and I would send it to their phone and stuff. And they'd tell me how good it was and how much they liked it and this and that. And I also have my wife that reads every single thing that I write. So I get her approval before I just keep something, because
Yes.
like I said before, I have some stuff that went in the trash can. What we call it, file 13.
Yes, or the circular file.
Okay, all right. And I just continue to write. I wrote a story. It's not in a book yet. I wrote a story about this guy that was going around. He was committing crimes. He was doing different things, right? And I shared it. I can't remember what the name of the story was, but I shared it with the guy at church. So he read it, and he came back to me a couple of days, well, maybe the next week or so. And he said, Terry, that was my uncle. That guy in that story right there, that was my uncle. He did all those things. That's how he lived his life, And I really can't explain it, because
Right.
I didn't know his uncle.
Well, we're going to continue that story. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. So if you are enjoying yourself, hit the Facebook page. Let us know. If you have questions yourself, just hit the Facebook page and we will answer them. So let's go ahead and take our first break, and we'll be right back with Terry Nelson.
All right.
Hey, what's up, readers and shakers? It's time for a new horizon in literary talk. Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions is a literary lounge for readers who want to make informed decisions on how they spend their reading dollars. Each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, authors will join us in the lounge for real talk with real readers. Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. This is the place to be for the best in literary conversation. See you there.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on the Gulf Coast that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
Join in on Mondays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry. There are no limitations or boundaries. We talk about life, and guess what? That includes you. So download the app today, New Orleans Talk Network, and subscribe on YouTube. That's every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. New Orleans Talk Network, Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry.
There's soul food, and then there's food for the soul. At a time where we live to eat, the Orleans Connection restaurant serves up recipes that reach back into days long gone. The kind of meals your mama cooked up for Sunday dinner. Fried chicken with macaroni and cheese and candied yams, homemade meatloaf with garlic mashed potatoes and string beans, or New Orleans filet gumbo. That's the real soul you get only at the Orleans Connection restaurant, located at the corner of Charters and Frenchman Street in the Marinade.
Now New Orleans has a choice. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app for your mobile device or listen at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com.
And we are back. Welcome back to Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. I am your hostess with the mostest, Rhonda M Lawson, and I have in the studio with me, I am so honored to have Mr. Terry Nelson. So at the top of the show, you mentioned that you had been in the military for a while.
That's correct.
All right, so tell us about that. You know, it is the Army's birthday, and you are a former soldier, so we have to give some shine to the U.S. Army.
All right. Okay. I was in the Army. I did 3 years in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas, which at that time was known as the Big Red One. I had a pretty good time, but I didn't care much for the military. But I do believe that it was time well spent. I grew up in the military. Just in those 3 years, it changed. They changed me a lot. I can just say I had a good time in the military. I drank a lot of beer.
Well, I think some people perfected their drinking skills in the Army, but that wasn't the only reason we were there, right?
Yes. I mean, as far as the military goes, it's for some. It just wasn't for me. And sometimes when I think back, I say, man, maybe I should have stayed in and retired. You know what I'm saying? you get out and then you think about these things, But it was good. It was good training. I come from a family of military. I have a brother who actually retired from the military, a younger brother. So
Army, Navy, Air Force.
Army.
Okay, go Army.
So I look up to my younger brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the oldest. I'm a twin, and we're the oldest brothers in the family. But the military was a great time for me. I mean, and I applaud all who served in the military.
Well, as many people know, I just retired from the Army after 23 years. Long time. But I can't say that I miss the military only because I'm just enjoying what I'm doing now.
Amen.
But I will say that anybody who ever was thinking about joining the Army, come talk to me, because that life is something that I will never regret. It actually helped me to grow. I grew up a lot in the Army. And when I first joined the Army, I was 20 years old, and I was still living at home. My family did a lot for me, so I really had to learn how to be self-sufficient. And that's what the Army taught me. So I didn't just get a career. I actually was able to grow up there. So I enjoyed what I did, and I don't regret my time in the Army at all. That's just why I did so long. I was in there 23 years, retired as a master sergeant. Yes.
All right then.
Yeah, you know.
That's all right.
But I probably would have gone higher. But one of the reasons I left the Army was because I wanted to have more time with my daughter. My daughter was getting older.
Right.
And I had spent so much time away from her being deployed because I went to 2 combat deployments. I went to a peacekeeping mission. There were many times where I was stationed overseas, forward deployed. And I wanted to have my daughter's last couple years in high school, I wanted to be able to enjoy those years with her. So I said, you know what, maybe it's time for me to go ahead and move on and do what I feel that I was called to do, which is why I'm staying within the literary realm. Yes, I published 5 books, and I contributed to 9 anthologies, but what I actually enjoy doing now is supporting authors. Because as I mentioned at your book launch, our local authors do not become internationally known unless we support them at the local level.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons why I started Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions.
That's right. I'm glad you was in the Army.
There you go.
Yes.
So, actually, we got an answer to one of the questions. One of our authors, Miss Diana Riley, who will actually be a part of the New Orleans Literary Takeover, which we will be talking about very soon, said that she was inspired to read as an adult, as an escape from her work and responsibility to enjoy some quiet time alone. Reading stories and books took me into the characters' lives. What do you think about that?
It does. It does take you into the characters' lives. That I was reading the book that I got from you, the anthology. I can't remember the full name.
Are you talking about the book that that I gave you, the big brown book, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay, that was embracing the color of strength, embracing the passion of our culture.
Yes. And I'm right now. I'm enjoying that, and I was just reading this. One of your stories was the third story in the book.
Yes.
I haven't gotten to that yet, but I read the first two stories, and I enjoyed them. You know what I'm saying? And when I do read the stories, I learn from. I learned, since I've been reading, I can learn from other authors by reading their work and seeing how they start a story, seeing how they end a story, and what goes in the meat of the story. And,
right. Well, interestingly, I started reading as a child, but that's kind of how I learned how to write. I noticed the way the stories were structured. I noticed how long the chapters were. I noticed how they set quotes away from the narration of the story. And that's how I kind of learned how to start writing my stories, because I did so much reading. So I absolutely love reading. I have another lady who said that she found more books that she was interested in reading as she became an adult. Instead of the school giving her books to read, she started finding books that she wanted to read.
Okay.
So that's what helped her to start reading more.
And I can tell you, as a young adult, I did read a little, not much, and like you just said, something that interests you, you wouldn't mind reading it. So the things that interest me as a young man, just chasing women or trying to be something I'm really not. I used to love to read Iceberg Slim and Donald Goins.
I was actually about to ask you if you read those books. A lot of people have read. There are so many people, and they have got, whether you like street fiction or not, you have got to credit them, because so many people started their reading journeys by reading Donald Goins and Iceberg Slim.
Yes. Though, the stories that they told were true, and they were wild.
Yes, they were wild stories.
Yeah.
But on that note, let's move on to the New Orleans Literary Takeover. Speaking of wild, you just joined our little crew, our little band of authors. And so what do you think? Are you looking forward to being a part of this?
I'm looking forward very much to being a part of this. This is all new to me. Writing a book is all this is new to me. So and God has taken away all my fears, because when I came here today, this is the first time I've ever been on a talk show.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, and I figure I'm sitting at home. Well, what am I going to say, or what am I going? I hope she does most of the talking, and. And I'm just glad. I'm just so glad to be a part of it. And when you called me and asked me to be a part of it, I was excited inside, but I was
shaking.
Kind of shaking.
Oh, don't shake.
What should I? Yes.
But we are going to make this event absolutely amazing. It's going to be so fun. Amen. So we're starting off with the kickoff, which is going to be the New Orleans Literary Takeover meet and greet. It's going to be at the New Orleans Drink Lab, and the admission is only $50, which includes so much. You get a live band, you get free food, you get free wine. You also get a gift bag, which will include an autographed book from at least one of the authors.
Amen.
And so that's just going to be a time for us to kick back and be social and have fun. We're not going to make it all stuffy where you have to sit behind a table and wait for people to come up to you. They're already going to have a book. If they want another book, then they can get another book, or they can go meet the author and get another book. Yes. But this is all about just getting to know the authors. Yes, and then we move on to the 30th, where we're going to have two more events. First, we're going over to the Community Book Center, and we have got to support the Community Book Center, guys.
That's right.
This one of our last African-American-owned bookstores in the city. Let's keep them around for 35 more years or even longer.
That's right.
And then once we leave there, we're going over to Second Vine Wine, which is a wine shop right off of St. Claude Avenue. We're going to have a nice sipping sign there. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to enjoy books, and then just have a good time. And that event is absolutely free, so there's really no excuse not to come out. If you're not going to even if you are going to the concert, come to the sipping sign and then go to the concert. It's only a streetcar ride away from downtown. So we are going to take another break. And when we get back from the break, I'm going to bring in our second guest,
All right.
Miss Kristina Eaton, Major Kristina Eaton. She is also in the Army, and we cannot wait to meet her. So
Amen.
stay right here.
All right.
Hey, what's up, readers and shakers? It's time for a new horizon in literary talk. Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions is a literary lounge for readers who want to make informed decisions on how they spend their reading dollars. Each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, authors will join us in the lounge for real talk with real readers. Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. This is the place to be for the best in literary conversation. See you there.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on a golf course that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
Join in on Mondays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry. There are no limitations or boundaries. We talk about life, and guess what? That includes you. So download the app today, New Orleans Talk Network, and subscribe on YouTube. That's every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. New Orleans Talk Network, Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry.
There's soul food, and then there's food for the soul. At a time where we live to eat, the Praline Connection Restaurant is real soul you get only at the Praline Connection Restaurant, located at the...
Now New Orleans has a choice. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app for your mobile device or listen at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com.
All right, and we are back. Welcome back to Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss Rhonda M Lawson, and I am so excited. I should have switched mugs because I have my sorority sister on now, Soror and Major Kristina Eaton. How are you?
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Oh, it seems like we have a little bit of feedback. Give us 1 second. Okay, are you there, Kristina?
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but I have my special Army mug here because today is the Army's birthday. So,
yes, it is.
So we are celebrating, and you are still in the Army. So how long have you been in?
I have been in almost 16 years.
All right. Okay, go ahead. I know that means you're headed to retirement for sure.
Absolutely. I'm going past 20.
Okay. How long do you think you're going to do?
24.
Okay, you'll have me by 1 year when you do that. I just retired after 23 years.
Kudos to you, and I thank you for your service.
And thank you for yours. Where are you stationed now?
I am currently in Indianapolis, Indiana at Fort Ben Harrison. It's basically a reserve base now. It used to be active duty, but they've downsized some of the buildings. So we have Army Reserve, Navy Reserve, Marine Reserve, as well as Indiana National Guard.
Awesome. And what's really cool is Fort Benjamin Harrison is actually where I started my career. I went to, yes, I actually went to advanced individual training there. I trained to become an Army Public Affairs Specialist right at Fort Ben Harrison. I actually really liked that place. I didn't think I would like Indiana, but I really liked that base.
I actually like it. It's a big city. I'm a city girl and I'm close to my family, so I can't complain.
Well, there you go. All right. So let's get into this. Now, you actually are coming to the New Orleans Literary Takeover with 3 different books. Why don't you tell me about those?
Okay, the first book is a compilation talking about unhealthy and toxic relationships that we as women seem to have and we find ourselves in for various reasons. And the visionary behind that book is a wonderful lady named Cheryl Holland. She's currently working with some other authors on volume 2. We were her first volume. The second book is spearheaded by Tony Coleman Brown and Julia Shaw. They're both out of New York. The name of the book is Delayed But Not Denied. It's 20 stories of inspiration, basically how we overcame adversity in different times in our lives. And it shows the adversity and then the triumph through such. So that was a great project to be a part of. And the third project is Volume 4, 20 Beautiful Women. It's, let me not butcher her name. Her name is Saba Tico, and I did Volume 4, and she actually has a series called 20 Beautiful Men as well. And she has been able to do conferences annually for the authors to come together from all over the world.
That is amazing. And I actually remember when I first met you, you were asking me, you were telling me that you wanted to get started writing, and we were supposed to sit down and, talk about getting started with writing. And then right after that, boom, you had 3 books. So what got you started?
I truly believe in the power of having the right people around you. The energy, the connection, people supporting you, not tearing you down, and just having that atmosphere set. But, and I don't want to go to church on you, but I have to be transparent.
Oh, go ahead and go to church. Terry took us to church earlier, so you can go ahead and keep us there. That's all good.
I had to believe in myself. I had to have that confidence. But the confidence only came once I began to love myself the way God loves me. And once I realized that love, I built that confidence, and then I realized you can do anything. And the support of my new husband, that didn't help either. He was so supportive, and that's what's important. But aside from him, I had to believe in myself, and I had to go out and just do it. And I leaped and I soared, and I wasn't scared. So once I eliminated the fear from the equation and I believed in myself and I had that confidence,
yes,
I became unstoppable.
That's awesome. Now, you are also a life coach, and I'm guessing that this is this belief that you just talked about is your premise for the way you go into your life coaching.
Yes, I believe in being very transparent. I'm not an open book, however, but I believe that transparency frees people, and I believe that it heals people. And I started a life coaching business for women. I call myself the Life Fulfillment and Emotional Healing Coach. My goal is to help women heal from different things, whether it's domestic violence, divorce, sexual assault, toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, ridicule, bullying. I've gone through all of those things. So I pride myself in being able to directly relate, because those are all things that I've endured myself. And I think that life fulfillment is directly connected to your emotional healing, because you can't be fulfilled in life without happiness and peace. And how do you get that? You have to be healed. So you have to kind of let everything go, get rid of the baggage, etc.
Amen. Amen. You teaching me something here. I like this. So let's get back to the books. Why did you choose these particular projects to contribute to?
I never wanted to be the one to write a memoir or a biography. And each of the books is a piece of me without being an open book. No pun intended. So different pieces of me, different phases of my life are all in the 3 books that everyone will have the opportunity to get a copy of at the New Orleans Literary Takeover, and I am so excited.
Yeah, look at you plugging. Go ahead, girl. Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Like I said, fellow Army girl, my soror, one of the first people to believe in this project, and then on top of that, we actually were able to meet each other years ago, and then we finally get to see each other face to face. That is so awesome about technology. There are so many people that I've met and known for years, and I feel like they're great friends, but I've never actually seen them in person. But because of the advent of social media, we talk all the time, and so that's why I'm really excited to finally be able to see you in person.
Do you remember how we met, Rhonda?
No, you're going to have to remind me, but I know that we actually did meet in person first, but it's been so long since we saw each other. Tell me how we met.
We were celebrating our brothers in D.C. for their 100th centennial.
Yes. That was crazy. There were so many people there. I think we actually took over D.C. We really did paint it blue and white.
We actually did, but I am so excited to join forces with you again at the end of the month, because New Orleans is my favorite city, so I'm definitely going to have a great time.
Well, we're going to make sure that you have a great time. I was, before the break, I was talking about the different events that we were going to have during the Literary Takeover. And the first event was the kickoff, of course, over at the New Orleans Drink Lab. And then on the 30th, we were talking about going over to Community Book Center that's actually going to be a really nice event. It's a book signing, but we're also going to have a discussion, so everybody will be able to actually get to say a little bit to all of the people who will be there to support you. And then we're going over to the Second Vine Wine and do a sip and sign. But what I didn't get to was on the 1st of July. On the 1st of July, we're having a brunch and books at 14 Parishes Restaurant. I hope you like Jamaican.
I enjoy food, period.
Oh, okay. Then you're going to love 14 Parishes. I mean, this is an authentic Jamaican restaurant. They have the jerk chicken. They have the oxtails. They have the rum punch. They have everything that you're looking for. It's really good there. So we're going to do the brunch and books there, have a little music. We're going to have Teresa Tai, who's going to be our celebrity host, and she's going to keep the party going for us. And it's just going to be a really fun time. And then after the brunch and books, we're going over to the Riverwalk. And at the Riverwalk, that is where everybody who didn't make it to the other events, they're going to be coming from the Essence Festival, which is right down the street, very much walking distance. We'll be coming over to the Riverwalk Outlet Mall. And it's a really beautiful outlet collection mall. It's one of those malls where you can just kind of walk straight through. I know you said that New Orleans is your favorite city. Have you been to the Riverwalk Mall?
No, I'm listening to all these different locations, and I think I'm actually going to see a different part of the city than I've ever seen before. So
yes, that's actually one of the goals that we had with the New Orleans Literary Takeover. I mean, of course, we want to support authors, but at the same time, there are so many awesome businesses in the city that sometimes get a little overshadowed because everybody knows the downtown area and they don't get to get out and see different parts of the city. So this is just our way of supporting our authors, but at the same time, bringing our local small businesses into the mix, bringing some of that crowd over to these businesses so they can see a different part of New Orleans.
Absolutely. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to participate in such a wonderful event.
Oh, thank you so much. And I thank you for being a part of the event. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. So, but now let's move on now. Do you have anything planned for when you're here, when it comes to meeting the public or anything?
No, I just want to love on everybody.
Yes.
And I just wanted to share with you, Rhonda, as far as me becoming an author, because I kind of think that it was in my blood and in my veins, literally, because my mom always took me to the library. I always was a bookworm. I'm still a bookworm. I like to feel the physical books and not the Kindles and the e-readers. I don't really do good with digital books.
So you like
And
to hold a book instead of
old book, I like to highlight, I like to fold my pages. But
yes.
I actually, my first job was working at a library. I was already a bookworm. I'm a strong advocate for literacy. I think there's just power in reading and being able to educate ourselves no matter what the subject of the book is. And writing has always been just a natural gift for me. It came natural for me. So I recognize it's one of my God-given gifts. So it's just like it was destined from the start for me to be where I am today.
Okay, now that actually brings me to back to the Facebook question that I asked. I had asked readers before we started the show. Tonight's question is: if you didn't read as a child, what inspired you to begin reading as an adult? And one person answered, Brandon Clark. He said, understanding the lack of knowledge that he had in certain areas. That actually inspired him to want to read more. Do you run across people like that? I know you said you've always been a bookworm. You read as a child, just as I did. But do you run across a lot of people who just started reading as adults? And what did they tell you inspired them to begin reading?
Tough question. I would say it all goes back to education. And I think we, as a society now, we have so many tools of social media that it's not really information. It's full of present opinions, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just constantly posting what they think, how they feel, but it's not really valuable information. And people still want that valuable information, so it's definitely necessary. I think that a lot of that information is streamlined online now, which is taken away from the value of our libraries, unfortunately. But I still love the good old library.
Yes, yes.
But that's just knowledge and power, and education is power. So I think that there's still validity in magazines, there's still validity in actual books, subscriptions, and library cards, and the actual access to those facilities in our inner cities.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we used to actually do field trips, so to speak, over to the library. I remember when I was going to Andrew J. Bell Middle School or junior high school right here in New Orleans. I spent so much time in the library, but we had a beautiful library. Our library actually used to be a church, so it was really pretty. Had the cathedral ceilings and everything. But I spent so much time in there, always looking for books to read. And now, I think reading just has so much competition now when it comes to television, when it comes to social media, when it comes to games, that we've actually gotten away from reading. What do you think we can do to make reading fun again?
Put it on social media. Post, Facebook live stream, actually do a Facebook Live on location at different bookstores. That would be very insightful. I actually found out about a bookstore here in Indianapolis because I did a book signing for my third book, Indy Reads Books. It's on a very neat little street, Massachusetts Ave. So if anybody's familiar with the city, they know Massachusetts Ave. But it's on the tail end of the street, so not a lot of people know that it exists. And it's a neat little locally operated bookstore. But just do your check-ins and do Facebook Lives on location.
Nice, yeah.
Kind of, or have a book club party and do a Facebook Live while you're doing it. Have a reading party, have a birthday party.
But incorporating social media some kind of way.
Right, so the word gets out because everybody's excited about social media. Start a new hashtag. Start a new hashtag as far as books and how you feel about books, the joy of books, how books impact you, instead of them just being a doorstop or a paperweight.
A paperweight. I knew you were going to say paperweight. And you're right. Or maybe a coffee table decoration.
And I said social media because you can reach the max people that you can think of by doing one vehicle. But TV and radio is limited, the newspaper is limited, and everybody has access all over the world to social media. So it has very good impact.
Yes. And social media is instantaneous no matter where you are in the world. So like I said, I am really looking forward to you coming here very soon in the next couple of weeks. I can't believe June 29th is just right around the corner. It seems like just yesterday we were all planning this and it seems so far away, and now all of a sudden it's like right upon us. It's amazing how time flies.
Yes, it's almost here.
Yeah. Now, I did want to ask you, because you have contributed to 3 books in a very short amount of time. You also are an officer in the Army, and you are doing your life coach business. How do you balance everything?
It's only going to get worse, Rhonda. And I say that because I got accepted into business school. So,
oh, congratulations!
Thank you. So that will be something else that I add to my plate in August.
Yes. On top of being a newlywed.
And a newlywed. We're under 1 year. So I was just having this conversation with one of my colleagues at work. It's crazy that she asked me that. And she said, because she's a mother, I'm not yet a mother, but she's a mother and a wife, and she has other things going on as I do. And she said there's no such thing as balance. But one thing that I have learned to make sure that I'm intentional about is having planners. And sometimes I have more than one. And I use them for different things. I don't use a planner for my marriage, obviously, but I use a planner for my coaching clients, and I write down my book deadlines to the editors in a separate planner. I also believe in vision boards.
Yes.
And if I'm very visually driven. I have to see it, and then I'm tracking. I have a good memory, but if I see it, it's a whole nother level for me to execute it because I constantly am reminded of whatever it is. With the vision board, I want to feel good about knocking that off my list. So if I put it on there, I want to be like, yes, I did it. I accomplished it. I made it happen. Now with the books, I was a little in over my head, and I would have a deadline, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this done? But the biggest lesson I've learned with doing all of that and trying to find the balance is sometimes you have to slow down and have that rest time to just kind of regroup and regenerate.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the biggest lesson. It wasn't just juggling all the things I had going on, but just taking care of self and having that self-care. And that was the biggest thing to squeeze in. And everything else, it got done somehow. But I forgot about, okay, you need to rest. You need to just have a couple of days where you just cut everything else off. You go to work, you come home, and that's it. And I did not learn that lesson, but now I'm getting better with it. And we talked yesterday about it, but I'm getting better with it. So it's just writing those things down in my planner, having designated times and checking them off once they get completed. And not beating yourself up if you don't get it done.
Exactly.
You can't take yourself that seriously, because if you do, you'll never enjoy life, and life's too short for that.
And on that note, unfortunately, we have to end. I cannot believe this 30 minutes went by so quickly. But I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you once again for being a part of the New Orleans Literary Takeover. And I want to thank everybody out there who watched the show tonight. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And don't forget to come back each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time for another edition of Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. We are going to have somebody new in the Literary Lounge each week. Don't forget to get your tickets for the New Orleans Literary Takeover meet and greet on June 29th. Don't forget to order your Literary Pride t-shirts. As you can see, I'm wearing one tonight. This one says Natural Reader. And just don't forget to enjoy yourself. Pick up a book, relax, grab a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever it is to get you going, and just sit down, read a book, and enjoy yourself. Slow down. Everything doesn't have to be so strenuous. So thank you so much for everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Have a great night.